which it's done. So I am on YouTube. If you don't have Discord. All right. So the bunch of pretty images that I've got, I can run, but for some reason I cannot activate my cameras. It's never been a problem before, but here it is, right on 10 o'clock. It wants to not work for me, and I don't know why it's like that. I need a bigger computer. Somebody once said you need a bigger boat. I think in my case I need a bigger computer. It's come about because of Discord. I think running Discord at the same time as vMix. vMix is very hungry for its system demands. But it hasn't been a problem before, but tonight it wants to be. So, I mean, I don't mind. You don't need to see my face. You know what I look like. And I'm not shaved, so that's the main thing. You don't need to see me. But anyway, and I think there's sound there. Let me check the audio on. Yep, there is. There's sound on the TV, so that's good enough. Bloody hell. Anyway, yeah, all right. And if I do this also should work as well for a little bit of voiceover. Let me see if it'll work for me.
You're tuned to VK3EKH, the official station of the Astronomical Society of Victoria, with the regular Friday night broadcast coming to you from the studios of VK3CSJ in Narre Warren South.
Marvellous. Well, something works. Thanks, Ralph. Okay. Now, all right. Now, I usually start off with the usual readout for the Astronomical Society. So, whilst I do that, I'm not doing anything else other than doing this. So, my modem's good, because the next thing that would really irritate the hell out of me is my modem falling over. I had a funny feeling I shouldn't have bothered with this tonight. Just sat there and watched the footy on Channel 7. The Astronomical Society of Victoria, founded in 1922, comprises over 1,600 members throughout Victoria, the other states of Australia and overseas. Membership of the Society is open to all persons with an interest in astronomy. The Society's objectives are to encourage the study and practice of astronomy and to disseminate the knowledge of the science and to provide greater facilities for the study among its members. Monthly meetings are usually held on the second Wednesday of each month, except in January, with the latter being held on a Saturday night. Meeting starts at 8 p.m. at the Mullior Hall, Burwood Avenue, Melbourne, near the Melbourne Observatory, which is located adjacent to the Shrine of Remembrance. Parking is available in Burwood Avenue, Dallas Brooks Drive and the surrounding streets. Admission is free and visitors are most welcome. Privileges of membership include the right to borrow books, periodicals and other publications from the Society's extensive library located at the Melbourne Observatory, receipt of the ASV's magazine Crux containing articles, news, observing notes and the like, and the free provision of the Astronomical Yearbook. Access is available to telescopes on members' nights held regularly at the Melbourne Observatory and after the monthly meetings, weather permitting. These instruments include the Society's 300mm equatorial reflector and a 300mm portable reflector. There's a 200mm refractor managed by the Royal Botanic Gardens, and a recently restored photoheliograph are also housed at the observatory and are accessible as well. The Society also has a number of 200mm reflectors available for short period loan, so members can try before they buy. Regular Society Club Night meetings are held at the Melbourne Observatory in the Ellery Suite at Burwood Avenue, opposite the Shrine of Remembrance. Members are encouraged to use the Society's instruments located there in order to gain first-hand experience in telescope use. These instruments include a 508mm equatorial reflector and a number of smaller reflectors. Members are also encouraged to make use of the Society's country property located near Heathcote, some 90-minute drive north of Melbourne. There are a range of instruments available for members to use, the larger to only with appropriate training, which range from 300mm to 1000mm in aperture. Also located on the site is the 8.5 fully steerable radio telescope, which members can access with involvement in the radio astronomy section. Members are encouraged to make and use telescopes. Advice and help on both matters are provided willingly to newcomers desiring to do the same thing. Instrument making is only one of the number of common interest activities catered for within the society. Other areas of interest that members can participate in include deep sky observing, astrophotography, lunar and planetary observing, auroral, meteor, comet, radio astronomy, computing, cosmology and astrophysics, historical studies and research of astronomy in general. Contact details for various section directors are provided in the yearbook. Further information may be obtained by visiting the ASV website at www.asv.org.au. Website, yes, and notifications of events are given in the Crux Extra bulletins sent out via email to members. Please note that the ASV will conform to all government health directives. Thus, ASV events may be required to be cancelled, moved or postponed. If you wish to write a letter to the ASV, please address it to the Secretary, the Astronomical Society of Victoria, GPO Box 1059, Melbourne, Victoria 3001. Whew. So there it is. You're tuned to ASV Radio, VK3EKH. No... God's truth. So, no visions tonight. The cameras can't work for me for some reason. I've got the camera turned on, but vMix doesn't want to take it on. So, all right. And a very pleasant... I was going to say, yes, it was sad to see Paul Higgins, the ABC weather announcer, finishing up for last night after 40-odd years of being with the ABC. Used to watch Paul Higgins quite a lot in the news, and I thought I'd make sure that he'd catch up with his last weather bulletin, which was last night, and they ran quite a little bit of history of him too. So Paul Higgins, the ABC weatherman, has decided to retire and move on. So good on you, Mr. Higgins. He was once upon a time a ham radio operator, and I'm not sure if he still has his license, but he's... Yes, anyway. Now, where was I? This has really thrown me. So let's see. The first article for tonight will be. Oh yes. Yes. I'm just looking at the Sky Notes. There's a bunch of on this day dates I haven't really read out at this stage. What's the date today? It's the 14th of June. Maybe I can kick off from the 14th of June and read a few on this day dates, just to fill up a little bit of time. And I think I'm all working still. Modem's not flashing at me. The 14th of June, on the 14th of June, on the 14th of June 1962, European Space Research Organisation begins, and later to be part of the European Space Agency, ESA. On the 15th of June, 763 BCE, the Assyrians record a total eclipse which helps date other events in history. On the 16th of June 1911, a meteorite weighing 772 grams strikes a barn in rural Wisconsin in the USA. Yes, I often wonder about meteorites striking this barn. Also on the 16th of June 1963, Valentina Tereshkova becomes the first woman in space in Vostok 6, the first civilian into space and the only woman to undertake a solo space flight. On the 17th of June 1969, Verona 6 descends into Venus' dense atmosphere, sending data before being crushed by rising pressure. On the 18th of June 1983, Sally Ride becomes the first American woman in space aboard the Shuttle Challenger. On the 20th of June 1990, asteroid Eureka, found as part of the Trojan's asteroid group orbiting at Mars in the L5 Lagrange point. Asteroid Eureka. On the 21st of June 2004, Spaceship One, USA, is launched as the first privately funded human spaceflight. On the 21st of June 2006, Pluto's small moons Nix and Hydra are named. On the 22nd of June 1633, Galileo recants his sun-centered solar system model under the threat of torture by the Catholic Inquisition. Also on the 22nd of June 1978, Dr. James W. Christie, USA, discovers Pluto's large moon Charon. On the 24th of June 1883, discoverer of cosmic rays, Victor Francis Hess, is born. And there's an interesting article a little bit later on about charged particles being seen and detected on Mars. Also on the 24th of June 1915, birth of Fred Hoyle, who later explains the creation of elements in stars, promotes the steady state model of the universe, and coins the term Big Bang for the rival model of the universe's creation. On the 24th, just having a quick read of that. Also on the 24th of June 1997, first life-threatening space collision occurs as Russia's Progress supply craft collides with the Mir space station during a test docking while not using its automated docking and radar system. Oh, calamity. The aging problem-plagued station suffers a 3-centimetre puncture in one of its modules, which quickly depressurizes. US astronaut Mike Foley evacuates from the damaged module in time, and Mir spins out of control as solar power is lost. It's truth. Progress rebounds, but is later safely deorbited to burn up. Control is slowly regained by cosmonaut Vasily Tezbov, assisted by cosmonaut Alexander Lazikhin and Foley. Don't you just love these names? This serious incident heightens tensions between the American Space Agency NASA and their Russian counterpart Roscosmos. What's changed? On the 29th of June 1880, Angelo Cicci is born, one of the first astronomers to believe the sun is a star. Jeez. Also on the 29th of June 1961, first use in space of a radioisotope thermoelectric generator, or an RTG, using plutonium-238, which powered a US Navy NavSat satellite, Transit 4A. Also on the 29th of June 1995, Space Shuttle Atlantis, first docking at Russia's Mir space station. And on the 30th of June 1908, the Tunguska event, a meteor several meters in size, explodes over Tunguska, Russia, destroying 2,200 square kilometers of forest in a multi-megaton blast. And finally, also on the 30th of June 1971, Soyuz 2 is the only mission to visit the first space station, Soylent 1, after which its crew of 3 become the only humans known to have died in space when their cabin depressurizes prior to or during re-entry. All these little disasters that have occurred. All right, finally got through those sky notes. They've been hanging around there for a few Fridays, so finally got that sorted out. You're tuned to ASV Radio, VK3EKH. And again, apologies for lack of video tonight. I am broadcasting via the Melbourne television repeater perfectly well. And also on Discord and YouTube, but my video cameras aren't working for me, much to my disgruntlement. All right, first article for tonight. And I can now change the image on the screen here, so let me just do that. Let me bring that up. Okay. Yep, look at that, it worked. Amazing. Okay. Now, how can the visible universe be 46 billion light years in radius when the universe is only 13.8 billion years old? You just might ask that question. The expansion of the universe explains how it can be so much larger than 13.8 billion light years across. So this is a question asked by Joe Murchison from California, astronomy.com. How can the visible universe be 46 billion light years in radius when the universe is only 13.8 billion years old? How can we detect light 46 billion light years away when the universe has been in existence for a fraction of that time? ? Well, let's see what the answer is to that one. Astronomers widely accept that the universe formed in the Big Bang approximately 13.8 billion years ago. It has been expanding ever since. This expansion explains how a 13.8 billion year old universe can be so much larger than 13.8 billion light years across. First of all, we should explain that the light speed limit that relativity imposes on objects within the universe doesn't apply to the universe itself. In fact, we can't refer to an absolute expansion speed of the universe because we can't measure it in reference to anything external. We can only gauge the speeds of distant galaxies that are receding from us relative to our own position. Apart from those that are gravitationally bound, such as, say, the Milky Way and Andromeda galaxies, all galaxies appear to be moving away from each other as the space-time in which they're embedded expands. The more distant the galaxy, the faster its recession velocity, as noted by the Hubble law. As a consequence of this expansion, a galaxy's location changes considerably during the period of time that its light requires to travel to us. So, let's couch this in human terms. You are tossing a ball to a friend from a set distance, say 50 feet or 15 meters. Provided both of you remain stationary and you aim properly, the ball's 50-foot path will always equal the distance that separates you and your friend. But now let's assume that the distance that separates you and your friend, But now let's assume that instead of remaining in place, you back away 10 feet, 3 meters each time you toss the ball. In that case, by the time the ball reaches your friend, its travel distance will be less than the distance that now separates the two of you. In the same way, the light we're seeing from an object 13 billion light years away required 13 billion years to move from it to us. But during that period, the amount of space separating us from that object has increased substantially. Calculations show that this expansion would cause the current radius of the universe to be about 46 billion light years. You may need to read that article for yourselves. But there's a little graphic on the screen that says the expanding universe, and it kind of shows you from the Big Bang, the primordial soup, the proto-galaxies and galaxies, and then space expands over time to the current situation. Right, that's courtesy of astronomy.com. You're tuned to ASV Radio, VK3 EKH. Next article. I think tonight's going to be a nice short session tonight. Given my cameras aren't working. God, I tell you, it's always something in this station. When black holes merge, is the diameter of a new black hole any bigger? And there's a little graphic for this too I can bring up as well. Why not? Because I know it's that part of it is working. There it is. There's two black holes that are merging. All right, back to the article. Where is it gone? There. Okay. Courtesy of astronomy.com. When black holes merge, is the diameter of the new black hole any bigger? When two black holes merge, the resulting black hole has both more mass and a larger diameter. And that is the question that's being asked. When black holes merge, does the actual diameter of new black holes increase, or just its mass? Question mark, by Richard Robinson of Clay in New York. Well, the short answer is yes. When two black holes merge, the resulting black hole has both more mass and a larger diameter. But how much bigger? Let's find out. When astronomers talk about the size of a black hole, they're talking about the size of the event horizon, the point of no return, beyond which even the speed of light is not sufficient to escape the black hole's gravity. And this is not a physical structure that you could touch, but mathematical spherical boundary. At its centre lies the heart of a black hole, the singularity, which has mass but no volume. Scary stuff. For a simple non-spinning black hole, the radius of the event horizon is also called the Schwarzschild radius, named for German physicist Karl Schwarzschild, who first worked out how big it would be. The Schwarzschild radius of a black hole, called Rs, is given by the equation, oh my god, I can't read that out, is given by a specific equation, something like Rs equals 2gm over c2, how's that, or c squared, where g is the gravitational constant, 6.67 to the power of minus 11 meters cubic, and you'd have to read it. Where m is the mass of the black hole in kilograms, and c is the speed of light in meters per second. As a simple example, if we merge two black holes with the same mass and assume no mass is lost in the smash-up, we end up with a final black hole with twice the mass and also twice the radius of each of the two black holes that went into it. It's worth noting that in the real world, black holes can spin, and there are a whole host of other effects that ultimately impact the size of even way we would define a black hole's diameter. Furthermore, some small fraction of the black hole's mass is lost when they merge, radiated away as energy via gravitational waves. So in practice, you always end up with a final black hole whose mass is generally not quite the sum of the two progenitor black holes combined. All right, well, if you want to read that for yourselves, again, it's astronomy.com website under the Ask Astro tab. Nice and short articles, that's what I liked about it. But I didn't see the little calculation there. So, never mind, I think I got it through. Anyway, all right. This is VK3EKH. Yeah, this is another article which has got a picture, so I shall bring that up. And I have a picture of inside the International Space Station. 2 astronauts. 3 astronauts, actually. Okay. Space.com, courtesy, and published 23 hours ago. NASA calls off spacewalk at International Space Station due to spacesuit discomfort. The call was made about an hour before the 2 astronauts were scheduled to exit the airlock. The spacewalk scheduled for 2 NASA astronauts today, June 13, has been postponed. International Space Station Expedition 71 crew members Tracy Dyson and Matt Dominic will not be performing an extra-vehicle activity, EVA, that had been scheduled to begin Thursday, June 13 morning. The pair had already begun donning their space suits when NASA announced the EVA's postponement, according to a space agency blog post this morning. The call came at about 6:25 a.m., approximately 1 hour before Dyson and Dominic were supposed to be degressing the International Space Station from the Quest airlock. And you can see a picture of them there, all about ready to go. NASA had already begun the live stream of today's EVA procedures when the announcement was made. Spacewalkers Tracy Dyson and Matt Dominic were preparing for the US EVA 90 Spacewalk 90 today, but today's spacewalk will not be proceeding as planned. How many times do they have to say that? As NASA commentators said on the stream just after the postponement decision was made, adding they're standing by for more information, and we will share as we learn that. Shortly after, NASA updated and indicated the call was made due to a spacesuit discomfort issue, but did not indicate which astronaut had experienced the problem. Can't imagine what that could have been. One of the crew members assisting Dyson and Dominic were NASA astronaut Sonny Williams, seen in NASA's live stream. Williams recently arrived at the space station aboard Boeing's Starliner spacecraft as part of the capsule's crew flight test, CFT. Sonny and her CFT crewmate NASA astronaut Butch Wilmore docked with the station a day after their June 5 rocket launch and were scheduled to depart about a week later. However, their return to Earth was pushed to June 18, citing preparations for today's EVA as part of the reason. It is not clear whether the changes to this morning's EVA will affect Wilmore and Williams' departure from the space station. The spacewalk cancellation comes after audio from an International Space Station emergency medical drill caused a media stir when it accidentally aired live on NASA's live streams on Wednesday evening. There was no emergency situation on the International Space Station, NASA said. How about that? You're tuned to ASV Radio, VK3 Echo Kilo Hotel, broadcasting via the Melbourne television repeater and on Discord HD and YouTube, where there is no video cameras, I'm sorry to say, tonight. I shall suss that out a little later on. and also on good old 80 metres. Now, this is potentially interesting, and fortunately the image that's associated with this article is a GIF file, which I was able to get across working in vMix, of all things. So let me just bring that up. All right, so if you're watching Visions, you should be seeing a GIF image of sorts. This is from the surface of Mars. Science alert courtesy of Mars hit by intense solar storms just as epically as Earth, published 13th of June. In recent weeks, the sun has become so rowdy that Earth has been repeatedly bombarded with radiation and particles emitted by eruptions of solar plasma. But Earth is not the only planet affected by solar storms. At just 1.5 times Earth's distance from the sun, Mars also has been buffeted by the huge ejections of particles blasted out through the solar system. The red planet's magnetic environment and atmosphere are much weaker than those of Earth, so the effect of solar storms look a bit different there. But instruments such as those on the MAVEN orbiter have registered those effects, and now we can parlay, that's a new word, so now we can parlay, P-A-R-L-A-Y, parlay that data into understanding the radiation environment on Mars, and now it may impact future human explorers. This was the largest solar energetic particle event that MAVEN has ever seen, says physicist Christina Lee of the University of California in Berkeley. There have been several solar events in past weeks, so we were seeing wave after wave of particles hitting Mars. Here on Earth, the biggest effects were seen in early May when eruptions known as coronal mass ejections, or CMEs, huge ejections of solar plasma and magnetic fields that sometimes occur in concert with solar flares, were spewed in our direction. The result was a spectacular array of auroral colours seen at latitudes not normally privy to such sights, as solar particles tangled with the Earth's magnetic field and rained down onto Earth's atmosphere, where interactions with its particles produced a stunning light show. The sunspot region responsible for those eruptions subsequently rotated away to the far side of the sun, but our host star was not done with its shenanigans. On the 20th of May, an absolutely enormous eruption, a really big eruption, occurred on the sun's far side. A flare estimated to be a X12, which would place it among the most powerful solar events ever detected, immediately after a CME spewed forth, and Mars was in the firing line. Light from the flare arrived first, bathing Mars in solar X and gamma radiation. The CME particles travelled subsequently slower than the speed of light, so they arrived a little later, triggering auroras in the Martian atmosphere. Now Mars doesn't have a global magnetic field the way Earth does. It doesn't have the operational internal activity of a dynamo to produce it. On Earth, the magnetic field accelerates solar particles to the poles, where they rain down into the ionosphere. That's why aurora activity is centered in or at higher altitudes. Because Mars doesn't have a magnetic field that can do this, auroras there tend to be global. But there's a catch. The resulting light shows are in ultraviolet, meaning we wouldn't be able to see them with the naked eye. Luckily, we have satellites orbiting the red planet that can. MAVEN, M-A-V-E-N, MAVEN has been capturing ongoing ultraviolet fluctuations in the Martian atmosphere as wave after wave of solar particles slam into it. Rovers on the surface measured the influx of radiation from the flare too. And this is what you're seeing on your screen right now. In regards to the image, the graininess of the image you see there on the screen, they're saying here, the snow produced by charged solar particles in the Martian atmosphere. It's quite amazing, isn't it, to see that? There's a secondary image here too, which I'll bring up. Where did I put it there? Has it gone across? No, it hasn't. Hang on, wrong image. This one, that's what I wanted. Alright, so if you're watching the TV repeater, or Discord, or maybe YouTube, you'll be seeing this 20 seconds later. But yes, there is the same thing. And here it's the same thing. Speckly observations caused by charged solar particles hitting the Curiosity's rover navigation camera. It almost looks like, well, you can actually see it in the sky region in that image. It's just like cosmic particles hitting the charged couple device. Very, you see it happening all the time when you look at SOHO images from the sun. Continuing on with the article, however, where did I leave off? Yes, I'm down here somewhere. Rovers, where did I leave? Rovers on the surface measured the influx of radiation from the flare too. Earth's atmosphere blocks the most energetic light from reaching the surface, but the volume of the atmosphere surrounding Mars is less than 1% of the volume of Earth's, leaving almost no protection from sun rays. Following the giant flare, Curiosity's radiation assessment detector logged a radiation surge up to 8,100 micrograys. The equivalent of 30 chest X-rays at once, and the biggest surge recorded by the rover. Such a surge, and a very pleasant good evening to Surge if you're listening, such a surge wouldn't be deadly, but it would exactly be great for it wouldn't exactly be great for one's health either. In fact, Curiosity's black and white images, which you're seeing here, obtained during the storm, are filled with snow static produced by charged particles interacting with the camera. The measurement gives scientists working on developing the Mars mission a key data point for understanding what sort of radiation environment explorers might be entering, which can help design strategies for avoiding or being protected from surges. Cliff sides or lava tubes would provide additional shielding for an astronaut from such an event. In Mars orbit or deep space, the dose rate would be significantly more. Meanwhile, as we enter the most active phase of the solar cycle, even more tempests are predicted. Hassler adds, I would be surprised if this active region on the Sun continues to erupt, meaning even more solar storms at both Earth and Mars over the coming weeks. So there you go. most interesting to see the images there being picked up by the camera on the Martian surface. I'll go back to that first image too, which is interesting to see. Dearie me. All right. You're tuned to ASV Radio, VK3 Echo Kilo Hotel, where the time is 15 minutes to 11. Very pleasant good evening to everybody that's listening to the session tonight. And again, apologies for lack of video cameras if you're just tuning in. Next article is if I can find it, emergency on the International Space Station. And this is actually a continuation of this other article I was just reading, I think. Yep, I'm still connected to the internet, courtesy of sciencealert.com. And there is a picture here of the space station, so I might as well flick that up on the screen as well. It's apparently flying, in this image, flying over America somewhere. This is the International Space Station pictured over the Nile Delta in 2021. Yes, it's definitely flying over America, Clint. It's in fact the Nile Delta that you see there. Interesting. Anyway, this article published 13th of June. Audio of a flight surgeon dealing with an emergency on the International Space Station while she was stuck in traffic triggered a brief panic on the evening of June 12. The unnamed speaker appeared to be conducting a phone call with an unheard conversant discussing a situation in which an unnamed commander would require hyperbaric treatment after an event that left them with decompression sickness. Unfortunately, the prognosis for Commander is relatively tenuous. I'll say, to keep it generic, the speaker is heard saying, "The International Mission Control has now confirmed that the audio was a ground simulation that was broadcast to the International Space Station's live stream channel by mistake, and all crew members were safely asleep at the time of the broadcast." The audio clipped from the live stream and posted to Twitter quickly generated a panic. The speaker is heard discussing getting the commander back in his suit and prepped for the hyperbaric treatment and oxygen after severe DCS hits. DCS refers to decompression sickness. The discussion also involved finding the best hospital to transfer the patient after splashdown, finding one in Spain that offers both critical care and hyperbaric treatment facilities. Decompression sickness is an unlikely but serious hazard that astronauts face in space, no doubt. It occurs when transferring too rapidly from a more to a less pressurized environment. The atmospheric environment on the International Space Station interior is designed to replicate the pressure on Earth, including the composition of 79% nitrogen to 21% oxygen, and a pressure of just 1 atmosphere, 14.5 pounds per square inch absolute, which is very close to what we experience at sea level on Earth, and I am feeling it now. The environment outside the International Space Station has a pressure of almost zero. So if you experience a change between two environments from internal to external without adequate protection, such as a properly sealed spacesuit, or if a large breach enough occurs in the International Space Station, you can experience decompression sickness. What happens is that there are gases in your body that are dissolved from form solutions in your blood and tissues. So I'll just read that again. What happens is that there are gases in your body that are dissolved and form solutions in your blood and tissues. When you enter a low-pressure environment too quickly, these gases, predominantly nitrogen, fall out of solution and form bubbles that can cause serious problems. These problems include obstructing blood vessels, erupting tissue, causing internal bleeding, and causing an inflammatory immune response, and excruciating pain. Severe cases can be deadly. And yes, it absolutely happens here on Earth too. Divers who spend excessive periods in deep water environments and rise too quickly can contract decompression sickness, also known as the bends. Decompression sickness aboard the International Space Station would indicate a serious problem, either a breach in one of the modules, a broken spacesuit, or a poor application or procedures and protocols. So, it is a very good thing that it hasn't actually happened. And it's an even better thing that personnel on the ground are practicing how to respond with cool heads in the hopefully unlikely event that such an emergency would occur. Well, how about that? They have to be careful about how they patch their audio through and around. God, it's always an audio issue. And if it's not an audio issue, it's a video one. You're tuned to ASV Radio, VK3EKH, broadcasting on 3541 kHz, YouTube, Discord, and RTV. But no camera. No camera tonight. My goodness me. Now, where are we with the time factor? It's, what is that? About 8 minutes to 11. What's after that? Oh, space weather. Okay. Yep, I think I can read this one out. This is a radio astronomy thing. And of course, that's right up my alley. And there's a kind of a picture here. So I'll bring that up to change the scenery. Where are we? Didn't I bring that across? I didn't. Well, I'm sure it's there. Let me just investigate my image bank within vMix and see if I can see it. There's a little picture here somewhere of the Parkes Radio Telescope. I think that's what it is. So I shall bring that up, and there it is, coming up on the screen for you video watchers. It's just a bit of artist illustration going on, really. But I think it doesn't quite look like the Parkes telescope, but I think it's meant to be. I'm not too sure. No, that's not Parkes. That's just a graphic that they've chosen for the sake of the graphic, I think. Getting back to the article, however. Okay. Courtesy of astronomy.com, published June 7. A weird, repeating radio signal from space stumps astronomers. The mysterious object sending the signal could be a white dwarf or a neutron star. When astronomers turn our radio telescopes out towards space, we sometimes detect sporadic bursts of radio waves originating from across the vast expanse of the universe. We call them radio transients. Some erupt only once, never to be seen again, and others flicker on and off in predictable patterns. We think most radio transients come from rotating neutron stars known as pulsars, which emit regular flashes of radio waves, like cosmic lighthouses. Typically, these neutron stars spin at incredible speeds, taking mere seconds or even a fraction of a second to complete each rotation. Recently, we discovered a radio transient that isn't like anything astronomers have seen before. Not only does it have a cycle almost an hour long, the longest ever seen, but over several observations, we saw it sometimes emitting long, bright flashes, sometimes fast, weak pulses, and sometimes nothing at all. We can't quite explain what's going on here. It's almost like a very unusual neutron star, but we can't rule out other possibilities. And there's another picture here. I'll bring up, this is more, I'll have to bring it across. Image, browse, there it is, open, okay, put it there, okay, we got it. Meet ASCAP J1935 plus 2148. The numbers in the name point to its location in the sky. This periodic radio transient was discovered using the CSIRO's ASCAP radio telescope in Western Australia, outback. The telescope has a very wide field of view, which means it can survey large volumes of the universe very quickly. This makes it very and well suited for detecting new and exotic phenomena. Using ASCAP, we were simultaneously monitoring a source of gamma rays and searching for pulsars from a fast radio burst when we spotted ASCAP's J1935 plus 2148 slowly flashing in the data. The signal leapt out because it was made up of circularly polarized radio waves, which means the direction of the waves corkscrews around as the signal travels through space. Our eyes cannot differentiate between circular polarized light and ordinary unpolarized light. However, ASCAP functions like a pair of Polaroid sunglasses, filtering out the glare from thousands of ordinary sources. After the initial detection, we conducted further observations over several months using ASCAP and also more sensitive Meerkat radio telescope in South Africa. ASCAP's J1935 plus 2148 belongs to the relatively new class of long-period radio transients. Only 2 others have ever been found, and ASCAP's J1935 plus 2148's 53.8 minute period is far the longest. How about that? 53.8 minutes duration before you see the next pulse. That's a real slow pulsar. However, the exceptionally long period is just the beginning. We have seen ASCAP J1935 plus 2148 in 3 distinct states or modes. In the first state, we see bright, linearly rather than circularly polarized pulses lasting from 10 to 50 seconds. In the second state, there are much weaker circularly polarized pulses lasting only about 370 milliseconds. The third state is a quiet and quenched state with no pulses at all. These different modes and the switching between them could result from an interplay of complex magnetic fields and plasma flows from the source itself, with strong magnetic fields in the surrounding space. Similar patterns have been seen in neutron stars, but our current understanding of neutron stars suggests they should not be able to have such a long period. Having said that, the origin of a signal with such a long period remains a profound mystery, with a slow-spinning neutron star the prime suspect. However, we cannot rule out the possibility the object is a white dwarf, an Earth-sized cinder, or a burnt-out star that has exhausted its fuel. White dwarfs often have slow rotation periods, but we don't know of any way one could produce the radio signals we're seeing here. What's more, there are no other highly magnetic white dwarfs nearby, which makes the neutron star explanation more plausible. One explanation might be that the object is part of a binary system in which a neutron star or white dwarf orbits around or orbits another unseen star. This object might promote us to reconsider our decades-old understanding of neutron stars or white dwarfs, particularly in how they emit radio waves and what their populations are like within our galaxy. Further research is needed to confirm what the object is, but the scenario would provide valuable insights into the physics of these extreme objects. So the search continues, they say here. And I won't worry about reading the last paragraph, but there it is. Interesting stuff when it comes to radio astronomy. And that picture on the screen right there is a near-infrared image of the area around ASCAP's J1935 plus 2148 taken in April 2015. And the object that's circled is the pulsar in question. So there it is. Okay. Alrighty then, let's just go. There is something else I'm going to mention here too. I might go over time on this as my coffee gets gradually colder. Okay, let's just get into spaceweather.com for a minute. Let's get that out of the way. If I can just bring it up. Where's my vMix? The sun. This is the current image of the sun. If you were to see the sun right now, safely of course, that would be pretty much the way it would seem with all those little sunspots. Tongue-in-cheek. Okay, the solar wind is currently at 364.5 kilometers a second at a density of 3.88 protons per cubic centimeter. The disk of the sun is currently looking like that. The sunspot number is 124, as opposed to the radio sun, measured at a wavelength of 10.7 centimeters, which follows closely with the sunspot number, you might think, they reckon. But the current radio sun flux figure is 165 solar flux units. The auroral glow over Antarctica as we speak looks like this at the moment, although this was sampled an hour ago, so it may in fact contain different colours, but I suspect that it's pretty much the same. So there is a little bit of auroral activity, but fairly low, below 50% chance of seeing anything from Tasmania at least. Okay, getting back to space weather, what else is there? KP index, the KP index, planetary K index. Currently the KP index is 2, and it's considered quiet. The 24-hour max KP is going to be 2 again, and is considered quiet. And generally they're saying here, Arctic radios are working again. A solar radiation storm that has blocked Arctic shortwave radio propagation for the past 2 days is finally subsiding. The almost S1 category event was caused by an explosion on the far side of the sun. You might not think that would be possible, but certain locations on the sun's far side are connected to Earth via the magnetic Parker spiral. Shortwave frequencies between 15 megahertz and 30 megahertz are now clear for over-the-pole communication. There it is. There's just a thing here on Venus, but I won't worry about that. Okay, so as of June 14, 2024, there were 2,349 potentially hazardous asteroids. And that's about all I can glean of any use from spaceweather.com as we speak. Time is 11:04 now. I was going to have a little thing on an article that was published in a country in Victoria's country newspaper. Let me get this right here now, because I had to do some tricks to get this to work. Thanks to Stephen for VK3SPX, Stephen, for sending me this article. And because it's a photographic image of the paper, I've had to do some tricks. So let me just bring up this image here. This, for those watching Visions, this particular picture here of the lady astronomer is featured on the front page of the newspaper. Because I've chopped the article, I've forgotten the name of the newspaper now. It's a funny name too. Let me just see where I am with this. Okay. All right. It is. No, it's not even there on this. Where is it? Yeah, there it is. The newspaper is called the Tarangawa Times. Is that how you pronounce it? Tarangawa Times. TRRANGOWER. Tarangawa Times. Published Friday, June 7, 2024. Anyway, if I can find articles on our local astronomers, particularly amateur astronomers, I'm quite happy to run profiles on them. I think it's always interesting to hear what the amateur astronomer is up to and doing, and this is no exception. The article reads, and its printing is a bit blurry, but I think I can manage it. On the other side of the mount, the sky is dark and the conditions are perfect for keen astrophotographer Anne Marie McComb. So we're talking about Annie Marie. Was it Anne? Annie Marie McComb. By day, she takes care of the borders of her daughter's kennel, and by night, she photographs the night sky. And what an amazing photos they are. I've got a few pictures here to show. It was about 5 years ago that Annie Marie started getting interested in this field, and she has accumulated quite a collection of telescopes, cameras, filters, and whatever else is needed. She has an observatory which plans to build a better one with a roll-off roof, and owns the appropriate equipment for taking photos of the sun as well as the night sky. A member of the local Night Sky Appreciation Society, Annie Marie is also a member of the Astronomical Society of Victoria. How about that? She and others in the Astronomical Society kept each other sane during COVID with their live stream Zooms. It's not observing the night sky with the naked eye that Annie Marie is attracted to. It's more the art of taking photos of the night sky that she's interested in. Cameras can see everything, Annie Marie said. Each image that Annie Marie produces is a composite of 200 to 300 stacked images, each with 4 to 5 minutes of exposure, and each photo is an extraordinary achievement. She says, I've started taking photos of dust clouds, and I'm hooked on them at the moment, she said. Most people go for taking photos of nebula with all the colour, but dust clouds I love, she reckons. At present, Annie Marie is eyeing off the Cartwheel Galaxy, which is, wait for it, 500 million light years away. Incredible. She was also pretty excited at the recent appearance of the aurora, and spent the evening chasing shots of the lights near her house over Khan Kuran. If you think that Annie Marie spends her nights freezing out in her observatory while fiddling with all her equipment, you can think again. It's all done from the comfort of her lounge while running the show on her computer. Ah, yes, it's exactly where I want to go. All right, let me just show you some pictures here. That was basically the article. It's written by Viv Markham. And let me just see if I can bring up some of these images that she's done for you watching the screen. Here's one image that she's photographed. Unfortunately I've had to blow up the article, and the images are a bit blurred as a result of that. Plus, the colour reprinting in the newspaper doesn't do it justice. But I think you can get the drift of what she's trying to photograph. Here's another image that she's done. And here's another one. And here's another one, which is actually what I have to do. Let me see if I can do this. Yeah, I can. All right. So I can physically move the page on the screen here so you can see these other images. So, yeah, this is page 20 of that newspaper. So these are the other photographs that she's managed to take. And for each photograph that's there on that page, there's a description of what she used, the camera that she used, the exposure time, and information. If anybody's interested in getting a hold of this article, I've got them in a zip file and I can easily send them to you. Just let me know. All right. So that's Annie Marie McComb, member of the Astronomical Society of Victoria. Lives out somewhere in central Victoria, I gather. Anyway, so there it is. She's doing great things, and oh, that's interesting. I've just discovered that one of my cameras is working. How does that happen? All of a sudden, there's the USB camera has come good. I don't know how long it's been doing that, but look at that. I'm live on the camera again out now. So, good grief. Oh, don't you hate cold coffee? God, I think it's horrible, cold coffee. I mean, it's all right if it's iced coffee on a hot day. Anyway, well, here I am on live camera, and there it is. I don't know why it's decided to work all of a sudden, right at the end of the broadcast, and there it is, a live camera. It does, in fact, work. This is the USB camera too, so wouldn't it bother you? I can see my other cameras there too, but it's not exactly working. It's a frozen image. I'll just close that, and I'll see if I can actually add it. This is what I was doing at the beginning of tonight, adding a camera. I think, therefore, I am that it's that one there. And did that work? Yeah, it did work. For some reason, it's working now. I don't understand it. I have no idea why it's working. It didn't work before, but now it is. YouTube is still working. Discord is still working. Yeah, look, I can see my reversed image on Discord. And I think the sound is okay. So, oh, go figure. The nature of the beast. All right. Having said all that, we are now going to go across to the frequency and see if there's any stations wishing to call in tonight. So just opening up a new page here to write down. And if all goes to plan, we might have one or two stations that'll call in. So, and I'm feeling the cold right now too. Jeez. This is VK3CSJ, listening on 3541 kHz for any stations wishing to check in.
VK3 Golf Lima, VK3SPX. VK3 AOB.
Well, there it is. See what happens if I don't have a live camera running? They all take off and not interested anymore. They've got to have a live camera. VK3GL, VK3SPX, VK3AOB. Sounds like signals are a bit weak on 80 metres, so hopefully that wasn't an issue tonight. Any other stations wishing to check in? Wow, 15 minutes past the hour, maybe that's why. VK3GL, Mr. Lewis, VK3EKH, have a say, Graham.
Clint, VK3EKH in the group, VK3GL. Yeah, pleasant good evening to you and the limited check-ins this evening. Just for point of interest, your signal here on 80 metres to me started off fairly weak this evening and continued to improve as the broadcast went on. You're currently about 20 to sometimes 30 over 9. So good at the moment, but a wee bit weaker when you first started. Thanks for the articles tonight. Pity you didn't have the camera running the whole time this evening. And I see that your floral cup has resurfaced this week. I think you had a glass or something last week. I don't know whether you were doing that just pure and simply to throw me off or not there, Clint, but I was pleased to see that lovely coloured cup was back on, especially when you got your video feed going at the end. You need a microwave in the shack so you can keep the coffee hot, I think. And it's a pity also when you're reading out that article with the newspaper, the newspaper had a big long name. Nothing like the Dandenong Journal, mate. You would have been able to get your tongue around that without any problem at all. Anyway, thanks very much for the broadcast. Some interesting stuff there. The articles that you presented tonight were really good. And I did watch on the YouTube, but I listened via the 80 metre broadcast there. So you're holding the cup up there at the moment to the screen. I love that cup. Yes, you probably need one with VK3 EKH on it or something like that there, Clint. There we go. All right. I don't know what the transmission from me will be like tonight. I'm actually using an ICOM 781, so it's a fairly old, quite an old rig. It's one of the original high-end radios from back in the 90s. It's got a CRT screen on it for a frequency readout and that sort of thing. It's come in for a little bit of TLC. It's got some blown lamps on the meter and a few other bits and pieces need to be just sorted out. The VFO's a bit clunky on it. It's skipping a little bit, so we're going to have a look at that as well. But nonetheless, that's what we're using this evening. So it's running about 100, 120 odd watts or something here on 80 metres. Thanks for the broadcast there, Clint. May have a brief word to you afterwards if time permits. VK3EKH, VK3GL in Bunyip.
Okay, VK3GL in Bunyip, VK3CSJ. I've just turned the linear on, and because I've had the linear off all tonight, on the basis that it might kick me that RF will affect the modem. So I'm running a few watts now, and the modem's still behaving itself, so that might improve the signal a little bit. But my apologies if the signal has been a bit weak tonight, because I have been running just 100 watts tonight from the Pro 3. So, but I can see the power meter kicking up now. But I'm trying to not to speak too loudly, lest the modem falls over, because the YouTube stream's still happening. You've got to if you go to Discord, Gray. I don't know whether you've got Discord. I can send you a link. But if you haven't got Discord, you have to register with Discord for a start, and there's no payment. It's just just so that you can log in, sort of thing. I'm pretty sure you've got Discord because you've left the odd comment on the Discord chat room, I think. So, but yeah, the HD video channel that I'm streaming is less than a second. There's less than a second delay in the audio stream part of it, unlike YouTube. So I'm trying to promote the YouTube stream now. Thanks, Gray. I may be around, I may not, I don't know. Anyway, but your signal is also about, it's about 15 over 9, so yeah. Steve, VK3SPX, thank you for the article. VK3EKH.
VK3EKH, this is VK3SPX. Yeah, no worries. No worries, Clint. Yeah, it was good of you to show Anne Marie's pictures and what have you. It's a Tarrangower time.
Tarrangower.
Yeah, so named after Mount Tarrangower, which is just right near Malden. And Anne Marie's about, about 3 kilometres from where I am, down near Lake Cairncurrent. So, anyway, she's a brilliant astrophotographer, and there's quite a lot of her pictures in the ASV's Astrophotography Facebook group quite regularly. Anyway, what else? Yes, that whole thing about the universe being 48 light years across and only 13.8 billion years old, it's tricky, isn't it? I sort of wasn't totally convinced by the way they argued that. I mean, certainly if we look at something that the light's come, 10 billion years from us, it'll be further away. That seems obvious. But it also seems intuitively obvious that if the universe expanded at the speed of light and it was 13.8 billion years old, then it shouldn't be more than 27.6 light years wide. I accept that it is, and I think that the clue to it is the fact that the universe is not necessarily limited. Its expansion is not limited by the speed of light, but they didn't really explain that side of things. So I found that explanation a bit unsatisfactory. Anyway, it's complicated, I think you'd have to say. You also mentioned Fred Hoyle, coining the Big Bang because he thought it was a lot of rubbish, which is interesting for a pejorative description. It caught on beyond his wildest dreams, didn't it? The other thing I think about with Fred Hoyle is he wrote a science fiction book called The Black Cloud, which was one of the first science fiction paperbacks I ever read, and it's a fantastic story, Clint, if you ever get hold of it. It's called The Black Cloud. It's pretty old now, but it was a great read. All right, that'll do it for me. Thanks for the broadcast there, Clint. VK3EKH, VK3SPX.
Yeah, good on you, Steve. The Black Cloud. Just making a note on the book here in the log. Not a problem. I was going to make the comment that if for those listening to me reading out that article, how can the universe, how can the visible universe be 46 billion light years in radius when the universe is only 13.8 billion years old? And you're quite right. It's called Ask Astro under astronomy.com. There's an Ask Astro, so it's a question that somebody's asked, and so obviously they've got to try and keep the reply as concise as possible without getting too carried away in depth. So I almost felt like I wanted to read that again, just because I was kind of struggling to picture that in my mind. I mean, it's this paragraph here where they say, let's couch this as in human terms, and I appreciated that, but even as I was reading that out, it kind of threw me a bit, especially when they say, but now let's assume that instead of remaining in place, you back away 10 feet each time you toss the ball. In that case, by the time the ball reaches your friend, its travel distance will be less than the distance that now separates the two of you. That's a little bit of a mind bender, that statement, and that needs a little bit of rethinking. But yeah, it is interesting stuff. It really is interesting stuff. And if we humans can ever master travelling the vast distances of the universe in some sort of Star Trek way, the technology that we discover that allows us to do that is just mind-blowing. It's a completely new physics, and I hope we do. I hope the human invention, serendipitous discoveries that occur from time to time, discover the way we can do this. Anyway, don't worry about it, Clint. Won't happen more. I mean, the only thing I want to see in my lifetime is man land on Mars. I want to see that first step, that first footprint. And whether Elon Musk does it or whether somebody else does it, I'm not particularly fussed. But even if I'm on my dying bed, the last thing I want to see is that first footprint on Mars. Anyway, I've been saying that for years, and let's hope that's I won't be dying when that happens. But yeah, anyway, that's another story. Okay, Tarangawa. I don't know why I couldn't get that right. It's just me. I went to a Dandenong Tech, so you have to explain that. That's the only excuse I'll make for it. What else is there? Yeah, but everything that Annie Marie is doing is exactly what I want to do. Is capture these amazing images in space. I started working on the deck. I might mention. I haven't got the pictures here, but I have removed all the Merbu decking, and I've put a 2 meter long spirit level on the frame of the deck, and it's relatively flat, but where the steps have been made to walk up onto the deck, it seems to be down a bit, so that part of the deck needs to be somehow brought up a little bit. But the Merbu, strangely enough, the guy who built the deck for me used odd lengths of Merbu. The deck is 3.6 meters. I don't know why he didn't find full length pieces of Merbu that he could screw down on the deck, and then just with an electric saw, rotary saw, just cut off all in one length. But as a result of using odd lengths of Merbu, all these extra screws that he put into the Merbu were contributing to the unlevelness of the deck, if you can say that. Unevenness, the non-flatness. and of course some of these screws were drilled so far into the Merbu that they were full of water, and as I went with this electric screwdriver to remove the bugle screws, the timber would sort of fragment and almost appeared rotten where the water was allowed to sit for too long after a rainy day. So the Merbu has turned out to be not a good deck to use. So I've removed the Merbu, and the idea is to get the frame flattened out, and then to replace it with composite, the plastic stuff, the composite Merbu decking, and I'll get they come in 5.4 meter lengths, so I'll get 25 of those. And cut them all off at the same length, so it's a uniform coverage right across the whole deck. That's got to work for me in some way. Anyway, so we're working on it. We're there. Probably another month or so, and we'll have that deck finished, and then I'll organise for the dome to be assembled, and then things will be happening. Thanks, Steve. Britt, if you're still awake, it's across to you, mate. VK3AOB, VK3EKH.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I'm awake. No, it's all good. You don't need your amp on, you can turn it off. I'll just get my band right here. Your band's spreading a bit, it sounds a little bit gravelly, slightly overdriven. Anyway, apart from that, I've got mine on. I thought I'd put the amp on for the benefit of hordes of other listeners, but they're not around, so there you go. All right, yeah, good broadcast as usual. It was quite good. I'm sitting here, I was editing music as well, but one ear on you and one on the laptop with the rest of it. Yeah, it's a subject that's always fascinated me, astronomy, and I looked out before and it's too cold to go out the back. I can see the distant southern star and that was on its own. I thought, no, I'll come back in, make sure the place is locked up. Yeah, so there you go. Come on, go away. Display, I'll just change it a bit. 1, 2, there we go, look at that. Yeah, so there you go. All right, no, nothing much else to add, so I'll go clear and get some shut-eye. I've been up late a couple of times. I was sitting in bed a couple of nights ago with the laptop. I thought, nothing on television. There's not much on there. And so I was working on this on the laptop. And the next thing I look at the clock, it's 1:30 a.m. Thought, I think we better call it quits. I've definitely been a night owl lately. All right, I'll get out of your hair and have a chat next week. VK3, EKH, VK3. AOB going that way on your final.
Yeah, no worries, Brett. Thank you for calling in. And cheeky lad. Looks like Steve's not there tonight, Mr. HK. I'll probably be catching up with him tomorrow too. We've got something happening tomorrow afternoon, and I might actually be catching up with him in an eyeball fashion too. So be interesting to catch up with the bloke, because I haven't really. I got an idea of what Steve looks like, but I don't think I've really met him. Yeah, there's just this little thing that's happening tomorrow afternoon. So we'll have a bit of a waffle there and catch up. Thanks, Brett. Good on you, mate. And I'm not having to worry about the linear. Yeah, no. Well, we're hanging in there. The modem hasn't fallen over, so tonight could have been a whole lot more successful if the blasted video cameras had worked in the beginning, and of course if I had perhaps run the linear anyway. But never mind. All right, thanks, mate. Thanks everybody that's called in tonight. Appreciate the comments and reports, and we'll be back next Friday to do it all again, and hopefully with everything working properly without me having to go and stress about it. This is VK3 Echo Kilo Hotel, the official station of the Astronomical Society of Victoria, broadcasting since 1988, concluding transmissions for tonight, this 14th of June. And everybody have a nice warm weekend. Stay cozy and warm. If you've got a chance to have an open fireplace, then stoke it. Unfortunately, I've got a split air conditioner which is really struggling. So, but I'm hoping that maybe in the next few months I might even organise a small Canara for this barn, and actually have a little fireplace running, or a little fire running to warm up the place and save some electric bill a bit. Cheers everyone, take care, look after yourselves. This is VK3 EKH concluding tonight.
Yeah, good night, Clint. Talk to you next week. Enjoy the weekend.
Yeah, thanks, Clint. And when you come up to visit me, Clint, well, we'll go around and see Anne-Marie as well.
Yeah.
VK3SPX.
Actually, that'd be really cool. No worries. Thanks, mate.
Just as a footnote, he might be listening. Stephen gave me a hand. My stuff was in storage when I bought the place up here, and he gave me a hand one afternoon to load the truck with the stuff I had in storage. But yeah, I know Stephen personally, seen him a few times. He's a mate of another mate who's also into astronomy. Anyway, yeah, all right. Catch you further down the logbook.
No worries, Brett. Good on you, mate. I'll probably find out more about that tomorrow. See you, mate.
Yep, cheers.
Okay, well, I shall finish up on the vision side of the station here. How's that? The camera's working perfectly fine, and whereas before VMix didn't want to have a bar of it, so I don't know why it came good halfway through tonight, but there it is. Alright, we can kill the audio from 80 meters too, I think. Okay. No, I don't think there's much else to carry on with, so let's bring up that. And yeah, so for everybody that's watching still, thank you for watching. Subscribe to my YouTube channel and hit the alarm bell if you wish. I just felt saying that. I don't think there was anything else. So anyway, this is VK3EKH, VK3CSJ on the microphone, just there. Concluding, we'll be doing a broadcast Sunday morning, the WIA broadcast at 9 o'clock, and also via Discord. So if you want to listen to the WIA broadcast on 80 meters in high fidelity AM, I'll be running that, and alongside will be my Discord stream, so you'll be able to see the visions from Bevan's VK5BD's video adaptation of the news. And then at 10:30 I'll be running it through this repeater, VK3RTV, and then again at 8 o'clock. So to those that I know are watching the repeater, thank you for watching. Sorry that I didn't have the camera working for the best part of tonight's session, but it's working now. So anyways, and Discord seems to be working fine from what I gather. It looks like it's working. I can see my image there. My image. And yeah, so are you there in the background, Richard? VK3VRS by any chance? Yeah. I'm listening on the handheld. No, not there. He's gone to sleep. Don't blame him. Alright. Cheers everyone. Take care. VK3EKH, Echo VK3CSJ concluding for tonight. Good evening, we say.